Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, and growing everywhere, Danny boy, you know that. Joining us now is a punter that is plying his trade in the Pac-12 college system. He's coming out of our mates at Prokick Australia. He's a former Brisbane Lions Academy player, which sits close to my heart, as he knows. He's number 38 for the Cougars, Mr. Nick Haberer. How are you, mate?
Good, fellas, good. I'm doing very well. Happy to be back home in Australia right now, so it's been very good.
You are back home on the sunny coast, you mentioned before. Quick one before we get into it. What's the weather like, sunny coast, compared to Washington State?
Mate, it's once I go back over here, I mean, everyone, all the locals are saying it's bloody chilly, and I'm sweating my ass off here. I'm loving it. It's humid. It's hot for me. I mean, I'm used to 4 degrees Celsius on a daily basis, and up here it's 25 right now. So, I mean, I'm loving it. It's beautiful.
25 is not chilly.
Yeah, no, exactly. 25 during the day, and then it drops down to 19 or 17 at night, and they're all going, "Oh, I need a jumper on." I'm loving it.
Does it snow at Washington State?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We got lucky this winter. I mean, we didn't have that much snow, which normally it fills the roads up and there's bloody plows going through, knocking the snow off to one side, and it piles up real bad and it's hard to drive around anywhere. But this winter we got really lucky. We didn't have that much snow. And it was kind of nice because our bubble got taken down. So that's like our indoor facility. Yeah. They destroyed that because they're making a new one. And so we didn't have that for our winter, which normally means it's going to be pretty brutal. You have to train out in the snow. But yeah, we got lucky. It didn't really snow that much. So
yeah, take the wins, mate. Take the wins.
Exactly.
I had ice on my car the last few mornings, so I know exactly what you're saying. I'm getting up nice and early. The question I like to start with, I've tried to change it up slightly. The boys used to give me a lot of shit about it, so I've changed it up slightly. And so I just want to know from you, mate, who's the most famous person in your phone?
In my phone, I'd say Dayon Henley. He plays at the Chargers. Or, Brennan Jackson. He just got drafted to the Rams. Those two probably, I'd say. Yeah.
If you hit them up right now, would they get back to you?
I'm sure Brennan would. Probably not Dayon. He's too busy. He's doing Twitch streams and all that stuff now. So.
Man to the big world.
Yeah, exactly. He's in that. I mean, he's been in that for a year now, so he's been in the system for a while.
Yeah, fair enough. So I mentioned that you were in the Lions Academy. Are you Sunshine Coast born and bred and raised there?
No. So I was born down in Redcliffe, Brisbane. Yeah. Oh no, Redlands. Sorry, Redlands, Brisbane. And yeah, lived there for the first part of my life. And then our family actually travelled around Australia for a whole year. Mum and Dad were like, "Screw this, we're gonna chuck the caravan on the back." And I was 8 years old. My brother was 10, and just went around Australia for a whole year. And got homeschooled and did all that. And then when we came back, transitioned back into school, and that's when they realised they wanted to live in a bit of country. So we moved up to Bundy, and we got a bit of property up there, and so lived there for my until grade 10, I think it was, and then footy started getting serious, and that commute from Bundy to Sunshine Coast to Brisbane, brutal. I mean, 4.5 hours to drive down to Brisbane, or 3 and a bit to get to the sunny coast. Just not fun at all. So they're like, yeah, we probably. I mean, and my brother at the time was going to Gatton University, so Sunshine Coast was kind of middle ground for that. And so they decided to move there so I could progress in my AFL, and it was closer for my brother to come home if he wanted to come home. So, yeah.
Wow, far out. I love the idea of being, 8 years old and getting to see right around Australia. Would have opened your eyes up at least.
Oh, it was an awesome experience. I mean, it's a little foggy for me because I was a little bit young. But like I still have very fond memories of that trip, and it was good for the family. It just bonded us together real close, and I mean, yeah, I got to see things that probably people have never seen before, and travel places around Australia that people have probably never seen before as well. So yeah, I was very lucky in that aspect, and I think it helped me socially and all that. And because once I transitioned back in school, it was a piece of piss, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. So, so you would have been, grade 3 or 4 around then? So, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Good homeschooling teachers, obviously.
Yeah, no, they were really good. It was just basically just learning about different things, and because we would drive long distances, and that's the perfect time to do some schoolwork. They'd rattle off some facts or do some math work, and you know, when you're driving 8 hours, that stuff's fun and something to do.
Pass the time.
Yeah.
So you got, like you said, got a bit more serious about football. You played at the Alliance Academy. What kind of player were you? Off half back, or you tall enough to be in the ruck, or what were we?
Yeah, I mean, so I was I was fairly tall when I was young, but not really. I was probably sitting around like that 5'8", 5'9" mark.
That's tall. That's real tall.
Yeah, yeah, probably going like when I was, what, 14, 15. And then once I hit 16, oh no, 17, I started just growing, had the worst growing pains ever. So that's when you know something's going on. And just sprouted up to 6'5". Like it was basically over 1 year span. And so my body had to kind of get used to that. It's pretty difficult once you're being used to a certain height and then your body decides to sprout up like that. Yeah, I had to get used to my new size, new length of the body, which took me a while. But yeah, so
I can't wait to have that feeling. It'll be great.
T-Mac, not that you can tell, but T-Mac's sitting all at 5 foot flat there in his chair. So if he had almost a foot growth spurt, he'd be loving life.
yeah, exactly.
So was AFL the only sport you played growing up?
No, I played a bunch of sports. I mean, I loved playing touch to keep fit. I played a bit of rugby in high school with some of my mates. I think that was in Brisbane, and then a little bit in Bundy. And then my brother played field hockey, so I mean, I loved doing whatever my brother was doing, so I played field hockey with him as well. But obviously, my main sport was AFL. Played cricket as well with my brother for a bit there. Loved cricket. If I didn't play AFL, I was probably going to play cricket. But yeah, AFL just won my heart over. I mean, my mum was from Melbourne, so she grew up loving the AFL, and Dad loved rugby league. So they had the old conflicting argument: what are you going to play? But they put me in both, and I obviously loved just playing AFL, just the freedom of it and running around and kicking a footy. Just love that aspect of AFL, and that's why I fell in love with it.
Yeah, so definitely a multi-sport athlete. When did the AFL career come to an end, and how did you get onto Prokick and start training with them?
Yeah, so going through the academy process, got selected in the Allies squad, which you verse Vic Country, Vic Metro, stuff like that, and practicing for that. I just got very unlucky in my AFL career with head injuries. You know how some people, I mean, they blow out the ACLs multiple times. I just decided my head would get in the road of everything, and which was annoying. But at the time, I was playing my Allies game. That's basically the game that you play to try and put your name forward to get drafted. And just had a huge head injury during the practice matches that we're having, and that kind of threw me out of that world of doing that competition and trying to put my name forward, and just squandered my opportunities of going forward because I had previous head knocks that have been recorded and stuff like that, and teams were a little bit worried that, are they going to invest in this person that's probably a little bit damaged, and rightfully so, I understand, and it was probably a good thing that I stopped playing AFL because the bloody got me head in the road of everything. So, that journey kind of came to an end because of unfortunate circumstances, and I mean, it's a good thing because I don't know, with life, when one door closes, another one opens, and just got lucky by one of my mum's friends. Was one day was like, well, you got a big leg, like, why don't you have a look at this thing called Prokick Australia? They punt. And I was like, well, isn't punting like betting on horses? I was a little bit confused at the start, but he's like, no, like, I was planning on going over to play like baseball. This is a good opportunity if you want to go over and play college football, and you won't like need to make tackles rarely ever. You won't need to use your head anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I'll give it a look. So did the whole process. Had an inquiry down. I think it was in the Gold Coast. Had just a little session with one of their scouts that they do before talking to the head boys, Johnny and Chap. And had a kick with him, and he obviously called Johnny and Chap and was like, let's get this bloke on, and then the rest is history. So
You obviously just going into the struggles with concussion and such. It's such a big thing nowadays as well. Did moving over to Washington State when the time came, and Johnny, does what Johnny does and got you into Washington State, did they look at that side of things, or was that not something that came up?
not something that came up really. I didn't feel like there was a need to really talk to them about that, especially in my position. Like, understandably, if I was playing tight end or or a lineman or something like that, then I should probably tell them about it. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're just kicking a footy, and all you can hope for is that you put enough hang time on it and distance that they fair catch it, and you don't have to make a tackle. But even if I do make a tackle, it's not like it's going to be the end of the world if I do hit my head again. It's just not smart to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And you get to wear a massive helmet, which helps.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So how did we, like, Washington State is a big time college. How did we settle on there and decide that we're going to head to the Cougars?
Well, basically, you know how Johnny and Chappie work. It's, they have a school for you, and it's like, all right, we got something for you. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And he's like, yeah, we got something in the works. And I was like, okay. I was just very confused on the whole process, but that's just how he works, and that's how he does his magic. And my coaching staff came from Hawaii. Mike Gabriel was the special teams coordinator that wanted me to go. So I'm assuming that Hawaii was the first option that I was going to go to, but then COVID happened. So I had to move out of Melbourne, come back up to Queensland, and that's when their coaching staff all left Hawaii to go to Washington State. And I think they probably just wanted to keep me on board, and took me with them to Washington State. So I had no idea what school it was going to be, and it's just like Johnny was like, "You want to play for Washington State, lad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
This sounds good.
Yeah.
And how'd you find that move? So obviously we're talking post-COVID. You went over, left all the family behind. How was that big move? Like, you're obviously very much a family person. Like, did the big around Australia trip and everything. How was the move?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but I got a good taste of it moving down to Melbourne to train with Prokick. So that was a good tester for me to move away from home and feel what it feels like to be away from your support network and be by yourself and doing your own thing and training and stuff like that. So it was a good tester, and I felt like I was ready to go. I felt very keen and eager to get the journey started. So that transition wasn't really hard for me because I got a good test moving down to Melbourne, moving away from Queensland. So.
And how have you found college life? Like settling in, juggling your studies, training, film study?
It's hectic. It's very full on. I love it though. It's really good. The studying side of things was very hard for me to get back into. I mean, I graduated in 2017, and then so I went over in 2021. So that's 4 years out of school. And so that was pretty brutal to get back into all because the first year you have to do general ed and all that stuff. So that's all your math and English and stuff like that again. And it's all in American English, and which is different to Australian English. I didn't realize that. So I'm getting all these errors and stuff like that. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why am I getting these bad grades and stuff? But yeah, it's that transition period, that first year was pretty tough. But once you get in the flow of things, it's like routine, really. Yeah, and I loved it. So,
What are you studying?
so I've actually bounced around a bunch of different majors because I didn't realize that football gets in the road of a lot of the things. So originally I wanted to be a nutritionist, but then you have to do so many practical hours, and that just runs into football time. And they always say, education first, football second. That's what my coaches always say to me. So, so it's like you kind of have to work around it. So, yeah, I transitioned to public relations and then a minor in business. So, yeah, so I'm just on that right now.
And what does just a standard day today look for you? Like just a day in your life? Run us through like what would be a normal day for you?
Like in college?
Yeah.
Yeah, so depending what time of the season it is, like if it's fall camp, it'll be wake up because we're a morning practice kind of team, so we wake up fairly early. Specialists have to be out there before the whole team gets on there. So we'll be out. I'll wake up around 5:30, get to the facility around 6, get something into me like eat, and then by 6:30 out on the field, and then we warm up. Basically, I have to do a full session with my coach because he's also a tight ends coach, so he doesn't have time to see me throughout the whole training session. So we could have a 2-hour block of training, and the only time he gets to see me is that first 30 minutes of pre-practice. So the rest of the practice, I'm like, what do I do with myself? But anyway, yeah, the first 30 minutes we do a session. He wants to see all different types of kicks, see how I'm progressing, stuff like that. And then we'll go down to the main field because this is normally we'll be up at the practice field. Go down to the main field, do whatever we need to do. If we have an actual pump period, we do the pump period, and then yeah, that's the end of training. Finish training, shower, normally get ready for class, have classes throughout the day, get back at I think 4:15 are meetings. So sometimes I'll have little breaks where it's a good chunk of time before I have to be back for meetings, or if I have a lot of classes going on, it kind of takes up the whole day, and then you're back for meetings. You have special teams meetings, then you have unit meetings. Sometimes you'll even have a team meeting on top of that. And then we'll have individual meetings, and then then we'll have dinner, and then that's the end of the day. So yeah, pretty full on.
So full on.
Yeah, it gets a little ridiculous sometimes. So
I'm sure that helps the days fly through those. So
oh
you go through. You've moved over there. You've got through all the pre-season training, spring camp, summer training. 4th of September rolls around in 2021, and you get your first start against Utah State. How was that feeling, running out in the field, taking your first snap and getting the first game under the belt?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I mean, they actually packed that stadium out there for that first game against Utah State, and it was actually really comforting that one of the Prokick boys, Steven, played on the other team on Utah, so got to catch up with him, calm the nerves a little bit, hear a familiar voice. But honestly, I wasn't too nervous. It was just really exciting, and like the preseason is so long, so you just feel ready to rock and roll, and you're just ready to get into the games. And it just felt awesome to be out there in front of a large crowd like that. And they get pretty rowdy in Pullman. That it's a little stadium, but it's a little like it's just a boom box. Like it gets really, really loud in there, and so it was really fun for my first game. But it was pretty hectic because we had warm ups, and our main kicker Andrew Boyle was our starting kicker, and he's like, "Oh yeah, get some holds for me." And as we're getting holds done, he tears his hamstring doing warm ups, and so I look at my now main kicker Dean Janikowski. I look at him and I'm like, "What is going on?" And it's his first time ever playing. Like, didn't know he was going to start because he was the second kicker. So, and he's one of my good mates. And so it was pretty cool that me and him got to start at the same time our journey and our college, like playing college football. And we just looked at each other like, what is going on? Like, is this actually happening right now? And so, yeah, he got to start with me at the same time, and it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment.
Didn't stuff up any kicks, any holds?
Uh, I don't think that game, but there was there was a couple of games where I stuffed up a couple of holes. I mean, I was new to it. It's different, eh?
Or it's just kind of gone into the background and we didn't know all about it because you have improved, year on year. But how has it been playing consistently, in front of 40, 50, 60,000 people, the likes you're not quite going to see week to week playing over here in the AFL?
Yeah, it's surreal, honestly. Like, and the fan bases are just all different. Like you go to Utah, and that place is. I mean, you're up in the mountains. You got no air, and if you're not used to the high elevation, like I was almost passing out. I got a firework in my eye that game. I was like mesmerized. I'm like, oh, fireworks going off! Like this is awesome. What's going on? A little ember came down in my eye, and I had to get the saline out. Got it flushed out, and then the first hole of the game, I was doing the hold with one eye. And then you go to Oregon, and the fans there are just very rowdy and pretty abusive, to say the least. I mean, they'll throw beers on you and stuff like that from the stands, and but that's all part of the fun. You love the heckling, and it gets you going. So yeah, I mean, there's all different fan bases, and that's the best part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You played some pretty huge games last year. You played some ranked teams. Number 9, Oregon, you just mentioned. Wisconsin were 19. Oregon State were 14 at the time. You finished off number 4, Washington. So that I imagine Washington and Washington State's a pretty huge rivalry. You finished 2-2 against the ranked teams. What are we doing this year to make sure that we improve that?
I think it's just like consistency up front. We have we also lack depth, unfortunately. Those big schools in the SEC, one person goes down, the depth that they have is ridiculous. Like that, maybe their star wide receiver goes down, but the next man up is like pretty good. So we unfortunately we don't have that depth, and they're obviously trying to build on creating depth, and that just comes with time and trust in the recruiting process and building a strong culture for our team and people wanting to come play in Pullman, because it is away from everything. It is a small little community. It is a country town, but if you love your football and that's what you want to succeed in, then it's the town for you. And that's why, building that strong culture is just going to help create depth, because then you're going to get better recruits coming in, and then you're going to win. Yeah, you're going to win games, and people are going to want to come. So yeah, hopefully just creating depth, which they are trying to do, will help us win games, because injuries do happen. They happen all the time throughout the season. So you got to have some backup there that that you're comfortable in, that will do the job right.
With a recruiting pitch like that, like, I'm going to sign up. Get me over there. We've said you've made improvements year on year. Last year been like your career best average for net punt. Like, how's your body feeling going into this next season?
So I feel really good. We're obviously, we do a lot of rollouts with my special teams coordinator, but I told him, like, it's time to let the barrel fly. So let's start incorporating that a little bit. He loves playing the game safe, which I understand. They got jobs. They wanna keep their paychecks rolling in. They got families. But also, like, I want to make a name for myself, and like, I want to show that I have the ability to do stuff like that. So I told him it's probably time to let's incorporate it a little bit. So yeah, I mean, body feels really good. It's probably the fittest I've ever been. Just, we have a new strength staff that came in. He coached the boys at LSU when they were going through, like, Brad Wing was there at the time. OBJ was there. He coached that LSU team, strength wise, and he's now in our strength and conditioning program, and he's a beast. He's awesome, and he's helped a lot of our boys and me personally just get a lot stronger, and so that's definitely going to translate onto the field for sure.
Are you doing many end over end punts, or is it all spirals? If they let you, like, I know you're saying you want to get the leash taken off and let you have a free reign. Any end over ends?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I want to obviously help the team out as much as I can, and manageable space and kicking a manageable ball is needed for the team. But also, there's times where you need a big ball and you need to get after it a little bit. And I felt like we didn't have that last year. He was a little scared to do it. And I was ready to rock and roll. I'm like, come on, let's just, but so I didn't want to be too aggressive last year, but this year I'm like, I want to get after it. So let's set some things up where we can, and he was all for it. So
yeah, I love it. We've seen with all the guys that have been drafted and such at the moment, you don't want to be pigeonholed as just a rollout player.
exactly.
We want to show them that we can kick the spirals. And speaking to Chappie the last few weeks, I think that it's changing the fact that they think Australians, like yourself, can only kick the rollout ball. You're showing them how big we can hit a spiral.
Yeah, exactly. And we obviously can hit a good end over end ball, but we're constantly working on the spiral as well. It's just that coaches sometimes like to play the safe game, and the safe game is the end over end, manageable space, 40 yards, 4-0 hang. Like, they love that. That's what they get off to, is a nice manageable ball like that. And then when you start to launch them far and without hang time, they get a little nervous. But as long as you can hit a good ball out there with good hang time in a good spot, that's all they can ask for in the spiral game. And miss hits are going to happen. That's just a part of life. Like, you can't be perfect, but as long as you can make those miss hits decent, you're laughing. Yeah.
Aim small, miss small, mate. I like that. You mentioned about the other Aussies, and having the chance like this year, you get to play against Boise State. The likes of fellow Prokick legends, James Ferguson Reynolds. That must be a good feeling. Like you said, your first game, you got out there and saw an Aussie and a familiar face. Must be one good fun and just bring it back home that how well we're doing over there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to share the field with another Aussie and just represent our country, and it kind of feels like we're having a kick to kick on a big stage, sometimes, especially if those games are tight and the punt unit's out there a lot. It's kind of awesome. Just we're basically battling each other with field position. Yeah, but it's great to know that we have fellow Aussies out there and just representing the country well and just putting our name out there. It's awesome.
And what's the goals moving forward? NFL a chance, especially after seeing the likes of Torrey Taylor getting drafted?
Yeah, I mean, Torrey's a freak. He's always been a freak. You know, you aspire to have as strong as leg as he does, and you know that just comes with time and practice. And he's put a lot of time and effort into his craft, and obviously it's paid off for him. And that's kind of the route that I would love to go down, and that's what I'm working towards. And that's why this year I want to, let the barrel fly and get it out there. So average maybe some more yards and put some more yards in the net and just put my name forward to get an opportunity to get in there, because that's all you need sometimes is an opportunity. So
And finally, from me anyway, how's it been being back on Australian shores, and what does the next month look like for you?
yeah, so it's been really good. Obviously the first couple of weeks wanted to shut my brain off from football, constantly doing football, so it's good to have a break, have a mental break. Still been hitting the gym, which is good. You need if you don't use it, you lose it. So, got to keep that up. And yeah, so I think next week I'll go down to Gold Coast. Jazz is down there. Jeremy Crawshaw, he's from the Gators, and we're going to meet up, go for a kick, and then on Wednesday I head down to Melbourne to see Johnny and Chap, and my special teams coach is flying over from the States to recruit another punter. So, so when I leave, they have another one coming through the pipeline, which is exciting. And so, yeah, I'd help him choose out the next talent for Washington State, and obviously want to get some training with Chappie if I can while I'm down there. And gonna go to one of the Doggies games, because the Doggies boys came over to Arizona State when I was playing over there, and they got tickets off me to watch a game there. So they're like, whenever you're back in Melbourne, hit us up and we'll get you some tickets to the Doggies game. So they're playing at Marvel, so I'm going to take my coach there, and they're hooking us up with some tickets, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love putting it back onto you and keeping that pipeline going, and having the importance, and obviously they trust you to put your eye over the next crop to come through Washington State.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It really is. It's good that I've helped create a name for Australians in Washington State, and hopefully that keeps the pipeline going for that school, and we just constantly flush through Australian talent through there. And who knows, we might even start recruiting some Australian tight ends or something like that, because he is a tight end coach. So maybe we put some tight end talent in front of him while he's here or something. So yeah, no, it's exciting.
Smart. Growing the game in Australia, mate. You're doing an incredible job. I love the story, the idea of, that everyone sees concussions as sports over these days, but you've just shown that there is another avenue and more places you can go. It's not the end of the world. So we'll definitely be following you, mate. A big year to come, and I can see some big things in the future, mate. But all the best going forward, and we'll definitely keep on top of it.
Yeah, thank you, boys. It's been awesome. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.